So today, we're diving into a philosophical showdown that's about 2,300 years old. It's between two ancient thinkers, Zhuangzi and Hui Shi. And what are they arguing about? Well, it all comes down to a gnarled, twisted, supposedly useless tree, and what it really means to have value.
And that really gets to the heart of it, right? Is it better to be useful or useless? I mean, in a world that's always pushing us to be productive, to have a purpose, what happens to the things and, the parts of ourselves that just don't seem to fit that mold?
All right, so our story kicks off with a complaint. It comes from a philosopher named Hui Shi, a really practical guy who believed things should have a clear, straightforward purpose.
So Hui Shi lays it out in these super practical terms. He's got this huge tree, a shoe tree, but from a carpenter's point of view, it's a total disaster. The trunk's too lumpy to make planks, the branches are too crooked for beams. By any practical measure, this tree is a complete failure. It serves no function.
And boom, there's the punch. See, this was never really about a tree. Hui Shi is using it as a metaphor to take a direct shot at his friend's philosophy. He's basically saying, Zhuangzi, your ideas sound big and profound, but they have no real-world application. They're worthless.
Okay, so you can see the two sides shaping up, right? You've got Hui Shi, who's all about if it's not useful, it's worthless. And then you have Zhuangzi, who basically says, hold on, you're not even looking at it the right way.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. Zhuangzi doesn't get defensive. He doesn't even try to argue that his ideas are useful on Hui Shi's terms. Nope. Instead, he just tells a couple of stories that completely reframe the entire conversation. And this is just classic Zhuangzi, right? He immediately takes it back to nature. He asks his friend to think about a weasel, a creature that, by all accounts, seems incredibly skilled, incredibly useful. Just picture this little weasel. It's quick, it's agile, it is a master hunter. It's totally focused on its one single purpose, catching stuff. But it's that very skill, that single-minded usefulness, that leads directly to its own death.
And that's the paradox, isn't it? Being too good at one specific useful thing can make you vulnerable. Your greatest strength, when you get too focused on it, can become your biggest weakness. It makes you blind to the bigger picture, like, say, a hunter's net.
To really drive this point home, Zhuangzi then brings up a totally different animal, the massive yak. He describes it as being as big as a cloud hanging in the sky. But it's so huge and clumsy, it can't even catch one little mouse. According to Hui Shi's way of thinking, the yak is completely useless. But you know what? The yak gets to live a long, happy, unbothered life. Nobody's setting traps for the yak. Okay, so this is the moment. This is where Zhuangzi ties it all together, bringing the conversation away from the animals and right back to that original problem, that gnarled, useless tree. And with this one simple question, he just flips the whole script. See, Hui Shi is stuck thinking like a carpenter who needs wood. Zhuangzi suggests they just change their perspective, radically. He suggests planting the tree in a place he calls the land of nothing whatever exists. Now, this isn't a place we can find on a map. It's more of a state of mind. It's a vast, empty field where things don't need a reason to exist. They don't need to be useful. They can just be. And in this new place, the tree's whole value transforms. It's not about what you can chop it up into anymore. Suddenly, its value is in its gnarled trunk and twisted branches because they provide the most amazing, sprawling shade for someone to just come and rest under. And that's the big twist. The very things that made the tree useless to the carpenter, its lumpy trunk, its crooked branches, are exactly what protect it. They give it a whole different, deeper kind of value. And this is Zhuangzi's final move. Checkmate. Because the tree has no conventional use, it's free. No axe will ever threaten it. It gets to live on precisely because it's useless to the world of utility. Its uselessness is its greatest protection. So you might be thinking, cool story about a tree, but what's that got to do with me in my life today? Well, pretty much everything. Think about it. Our world is obsessed with productivity, with optimizing everything. We're constantly told to sharpen our skills, find our niche, and be useful to the economy. We're all pushed to be like that weasel, fast, specialized, and efficient. But as we just saw, that can be a trap.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that our real worth isn't just about how useful we are. Some of the most valuable things about life and about us are things you can never measure on a spreadsheet.
You know all those weird hobbies you have? The daydreams, the time you waste just staring out a window? Those are the parts of you that are like that useless tree. They might not get you a raise, but they're what give you shade and perspective. They protect your inner self from the constant pressure of expectation.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. In your own life, what's your useless tree? What's the part of you that you've been judging as not being productive enough when really it's just waiting for you to find that vast empty field where it can finally offer you some peace and shade?